Hey Soulcon brothers, how you doing today? Hope you're having a very blessed day and that everyone is just making the most out of the day that they can. Want to talk in this video a little bit about calories and macros, and we'll actually go into how to calculate calories. But calories are really broken down into different macros, and those three macros are your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. Carbs obviously are one that we hear a lot about. People say, no carbs after 3 o'clock, carbs are good, carbs are bad. Let's start out with some really basic stuff about carbohydrates. So for every gram of a carbohydrate, it contains 4 calories. So when we get later into this video, we'll start calculating how many calories we need. That'll be an important value to remember. Carbs are basically create glucose, which is carried in the blood, and then insulin is actually what allows that glucose in the blood to be shuttled into the cells of the muscle and everything. And then glycogen, which is a stored glucose, it's stored in the liver and it's also stored in the muscle fibers. So carbohydrates obviously are important to us, and they are probably one of the easiest energies for us to use from a macro standpoint. The next one I want to talk about just a little bit is fat. 1 gram of fat is actually 9 calories, and so again, we'll use that later in the discussion. Fats break down into what's called triglycerides, and really it's one of those things when calories are not needed right away, they are then stored as triglycerides and shuttled into our fat cells to be stored. So once again, carbohydrates are one of those ones that are used right away. Fats are one of those ones that are used if needed, but then stored very easily. Don't get mistaken though, carbohydrates, if they're not needed, will be turned into fat and stored. The last one, obviously from a macro standpoint, is protein. 1 gram of protein is again 4 calories. Proteins break down into amino acids, and proteins are very rarely used as a fuel source by your body. In fact, it's not really until you get into a starvation mode that your body starts breaking muscle down, so protein, into the amino acids, and that's actually so it can convert different pieces in your body into what's called ATP, so that it can make glucose and provide a fuel for your body. So once again, we have our carbs, which is 1 gram to 4 calories. We have our protein, 1 gram to 4 calories, and we have our fats, 1 gram to 9 calories. Let's go back to carbs again, because then there's also this thing called the glycemic index of carbs. And what that actually is, it's a scale of where carbohydrates fall that tells you whether it's complex or simple. So the higher number is a simpler carb, and it actually, a higher number on the glycemic index is a simpler carb, and it actually breaks down into sugar very quickly. So again, if it's not being used, it'll be turned into fat. The lower number on the glycemic index for our carbohydrates, which you'll see for like sweet potatoes and quinoa and things like that, is a complex carbohydrate. And so it takes longer for your body to break that down, so generally you have a longer time to use those carbohydrates before they would be shuttled into and stored as fat. So I hope that's just a quick overview of the macros that we'll be talking about. Now I want to go into something called BMR, which is basal metabolic rate. And that is actually the energy used for vital functions like breathing and staying warm. So really your basal metabolic rate, which will be a number of calories that it takes for your body just to exist, keep the vital organs warm and breathe and do those functions that you have to do. So there's a lot of different formulas, and we'll go through that. I'm going to show you a spreadsheet later, and I'll actually talk about different BMR formulas that can be used to calculate how many calories your body needs to sustain itself. After we get a BMR, and then we're going to calculate what's called a TDEE, which is a total daily energy expenditure. And this builds on the BMR by saying, as a person, you are a certain activity level. You're either sedentary, or you're slightly active, or moderately active, highly active, or an elite fitness person. So that takes a multiplier and then uses that against the BMR to give you, again, a calorie requirement that you need to sustain yourself based on the activity that you have on your daily basis. Now, what most guys are going to be interested in is, how do I lose weight, or how do I gain weight? So what we'll do is we'll take that TDEE value, and then we'll either add or subtract calories to that in order to come up with a caloric goal for you to have on a daily basis so that you can meet your needs, gaining weight, losing weight. Okay, stay with me, we're going to go one more step from that. Once we have that caloric goal for either gaining or losing weight, then there's different formulas, or I would say different macro ratios that people like to use for either gaining or losing or maintaining their weight. So you can have, I'll show you on the spreadsheet again later, I'll have two different macro formulas where I have different sets of protein, carbohydrate, and fat values, and then we break down for each one how many grams of each, which equates to how many calories of each, so that you know on a daily basis how many calories of protein, how many calories of fat, and how many calories of carbohydrates. Again, if we're losing weight, that's a totally different set of macro ratios that we use, because generally when you're losing weight, you want to maintain your lean muscle mass. It's critically important for your body to maintain and keep as much lean muscle mass as possible, because that basically is where your metabolism is and goes up, and basically, you know, how you continue to burn calories and be able to keep from packing on pounds of fat. So again, I'm going to move into a Excel spreadsheet at this point in time, and we're going to go through that. And I just wanted to let you know that I'll go ahead and make this spreadsheet available on the Soulcon community page, so that you guys can take the information, plug it into it, and actually calculate your caloric requirements, and then based on gaining weight or losing weight, figure out where you want to be. This is building off of taking your body fat in the last video I did, because a couple of the BMR formulas require you to know your body fat. Other pieces that you'll need to know are your age, your weight, and your height. Those are all critically important in figuring that stuff out. So let's go ahead now, we'll jump into the computer and start going through the Excel spreadsheet. Okay guys, here's the spreadsheet I put together to actually track your macros and your calories. Go ahead and just put your name in here first. Obviously I'll use my information to start out. My age is 54, go ahead and put your age in there. Your activity level, if you'll see down below here, I've listed 4 different activity levels from sedentary to extreme. It's not real important up at the very top what you put in there, but try and pick one of those 4. Or one of those 5, I'll put a 4 in there. Testosterone level, don't worry about. I use this to track testosterone for some other people. It's good to know as you get older, but for most people to be using this, you won't know that information. So we'll then move down into what your height is in feet. Go ahead, and I'm 5 foot, 11 inches tall. Does a conversion for you then to centimeters. Go ahead and put your weight in. I was 198 pounds this morning, and if you watched the video that I did last time, you'll know that I was 10.5% body fat. So that does some conversions for pounds and kilograms at that point, and then we move down and find out that I have 20.8 pounds of fat in my body. I might have to work on that a little bit. It's a little bit higher than I usually like, but not too bad overall. So that leaves me with 177 pounds of lean body weight. Now you'll see we move into the basal metabolic rate formulas, and there's 4 of them that I use, and you get varying results. The lowest one is the Mifflin formula, and then we'll see the highest one is actually the Sterling Passmore. The Mifflin uses age, weight, and height, and the Sterling Passmore uses lean mass and body percent. The other 2 use a combination of that. I like to take an average of all 4 of them because I think it gives a better representation of where your BMR calories are. Now it calculates based your total daily energy expenditure then based on your activity level. So at this point you really got to be honest about how much activity you do. I work out 6 times a week, generally for an hour a day, and it's pretty intense lifting, so I'm going to choose the 3,480 calorie activity, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at what it takes to lose a pound a week. Calories would be at 2,980. If I want to lose 2 pounds a week, I'd be at 2,480. And if I actually wanted to gain about a pound a week, I'd have to up my calories to 3,980 calories. So for this exercise, most of us will be looking at losing weight, so we'll go ahead and take the 2,980 figure, and then we just need to click on this drop down here and then find that value in this list. It generally goes from top to bottom, left to right, so if we go up just a little bit, we'll see there's our 2,980. And then that adjusts the calories and macros for our different goals of either gaining weight, maintaining weight, or losing weight. Again, for this exercise, we're looking at losing weight. So I'm going to look down at fat loss 2, which is a protein 50, carb 35, fat 15%. I could choose the fat loss 1, which is a protein 45, carb 20, fat 35. But specifically for me, I found that I do better with a little bit more carb and a little bit less fat. So I'll go ahead and run across the numbers for the fat loss 2 projection. So we're going to move over to the right here, and we'll see, well, I'm pointing out again, this is 50% protein. So now we'll see that the protein calories on a 2,980 calorie diet will be 1,490 calories, which is 372 grams of protein. And it's 1,043 carbohydrate calories, which is 260.8 grams, 447.1 calories of fat, which is approximately 50 grams of fat. So there you see, this is a tool that can give you a good approximation of calories for either losing weight or gaining weight once you've gotten your body fat percentage and put that in along with your height, your weight, and your age. I do want to stress that this is a tool, and like any tool, it is not 100% accurate. But it does give you a very good and, I will say, scientific-based representation of the number of calories that will be required to, once again, either lose weight or gain weight, depending on which you would want to do. I will go ahead and make this available on the Soulcon community file area. You're more than welcome to download and use it. I have locked it down so that you can't change anything other than the fields that are required. I did this primarily just to make sure something doesn't get changed inadvertently and then get a lot of bad information out there. I do also want to stress that this is for men. The formulas for women are different. So if you use this on a female, the figures are not going to be as accurate as they could be. So I hope you enjoy it and get a lot of use out of it, and look forward to your feedback. Thank you. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video going over calories and macros and how to calculate what you need on a daily basis to survive. I hope you found it useful. Like always, if you found the video of value, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Soulcon YouTube page, and then also make sure you watch the ads all the way through, because again, what it does is helps us support the ministry and grow the ministry so that we can reach more and more men all the time. I want to close with something that I read the other day that I found really important. This isn't a Bible verse, but I think that it speaks to what God is trying to tell us a lot of times. And it says, "No one ever said you were born with all the tools you'll need to solve every problem you'll face in life. In fact, as a newborn, you were practically helpless. Someone helped you then, and you came to understand that you could ask for that help. It was how you knew you were loved. Well, you're still loved, and obviously God loves you. God wants to help you. You can ask anyone for help, and anyone means you can ask God for help as well, and you should be asking God for help on a daily basis, because He loves to hear from you, and He wants you to ask Him for that help. You don't have to face everything on your own. Again, God is there for you, so let Him come beside you and help you. If you need help, comrade, just ask. So ask God, ask the Soulcon community, ask your brothers around you, because everyone is there to help you, and that's what we want to do. We want to help. Thank you, guys.